thank you all for being here. Really appreciate your time and your energy in advance. In case you're confused on what this is an Arch Grants grant application workshop. So we're going to be doing a lot of small group work actually for this session, so hopefully that's what you came for and are excited about. And it will not be me leading those because I am a staff member of Arch Grants, so I can tell you all day about the competition itself, but I'm not a founder. These folks are, so they are going to be the folks that are going to lead the small group work that you're going to be digging into in a little bit. We'll do 3 groups, so you'll have 20 minutes with a founder of your choice, and then you can rotate to a different founder that will be focusing on a different subject. So we'll get a little more into that here in a second. So we've got Peter Webb from Mars Farm. We've got Brianna Arps from Mudo. We've got Whitney McClendon Gregory. She's the one who's on her way. She's with eMerge Roadside Assistance. We've got Quamaine Liddell from Nutrable. And we've got Joe, is it Malnar? Is that how you say your last name? From T-Care. We've got them kind of categorized. These categories are based off of the application itself. We've got the application kind of in chunks and sections. So that's where we pulled these from. But don't feel like it's only going to be about application questions. We want you to think about lots of different problems and pain points and best practices. You know, it's about really you guys and getting to your concerns and what you're hung up on, and how to answer these questions correctly is part of that, but it's not the only thing that you need to be focused on.
Hello, I'm Brianna Arps. I'm the founder and CEO of Mudo. We are a luxury fragrance label rooted in the scientific connection between scent, memory, and emotion. We launched in 2021, so we've been on the market for 17 months. I'm originally from St. Louis, so this is a full circle moment for me coming back here to build my business.
Hello, my name is Peter Webb. I'm a St. Louis native. I applied for Arch Grants 4 times, and we just got it this last time. So I am an expert on what not to do to some extent, and am very, very eager and happy to share all parts of my business. We make countertop-sized greenhouses for high schools, mostly rural high schools. So if you think of the Future Farmers of America programs, those are our customers. And we're in about 400 schools right now. So if you have anything, and if your business has anything to do with a physical product or hardware, I would be probably a good person to talk to.
Hi, my name is Quamaine Liddell. I'm the founder and CEO of Nutrable. My background, I'm a nurse, went to SIUE and went to SLU for law school. I went to California after law school to learn. I went through programs like the one we're structuring here to learn how to build my business and build my startup. Similar to Peter, I applied to lots of programs in that time. So I learned what not to do and learn how to get better. And one of the cool things about it was coming to sessions like this. It taught me how to develop things from my business plan, thinking about how to present my business and really how to grow over time. Nutrable is a web app that doctors use to send food directly to their patients at home, and health insurance companies pay for the food for their patients. So I'm really excited to talk to you guys. We're just doing intros.
Oh. Hi, everybody. I'm Whitney McClendon Gregory. I'm the CEO and founder of eMerge Roadside Assistance Marketplace. Essentially, what we've done is created tow assistance software that allows customers without roadside assistance to still receive the same quality of care through our application. Anywhere, anytime, 24 hours a day, you can go to our website or download our app and get roadside assistance anywhere in the United States right now. So, yeah, that's basically what I do.
That's cool.
Hello, my name is Joe Malner. I'm with T-Care. We exist to support informal family caregivers, so if any of you are taking care of a loved one, we have a solution that can help you. Some of our largest customers are different health insurers, long-term care insurers as well. While I'm not a founder, I've been in the chief of staff role for about the last year or so. So I got a backstage pass to see everything related to our Series A round that closed last summer. So hopefully I can share some light on business case, value prop, what makes you investable, that kind of thing. But no, I am not a founder here, but glad to represent T-Care. and glad to be here.
Thank you. But yeah, I think we should start off by just kind of sectioning off. If you guys want to like pick your own sections, kind of. Yeah. Hopefully that was useful and informative and interesting. I definitely heard a lot of conversations, and I felt bad for breaking up the conversation, but I wanted to keep it moving. So, yeah, hopefully that was productive and useful. Just wanted to kind of wrap things up by giving all of our founder moderators just a few minutes to kind of summarize the highlights, especially if you weren't able to sit in. You know, obviously there were two folks you weren't able to meet. So if you could maybe all, like, each just kind of give a couple minutes to think about or talk about, you know, what you really heard from everybody, what your like main takeaways would be for the audience and just in general, those beyond who weren't able to join today. I think that would be a useful way to sum it up. Who would like to start? Should I just start right here? You good? Good with going first?
I was going to keep it pretty brief.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, I think there had a lot of great conversations, a lot of good problems to have is what I heard. I think one of the main things a lot of us are struggling with is scalability in here, especially that does kind of tie into hiring as well. So I think that's something to be mindful of in any business decision that you're making is how is this going to scale? You know, how is this going to fit with my business plan in a couple years or even 6 months down the road? I think a lot of what I heard is Arch Grants is very valuable, and there's a lot that can be gained from winning the Arch Grants competition. So I know a lot of us in here have tried before and got some really good feedback on how to improve next year. So I think just stick with it. Like I said, a lot of good problems here in this room, and very encouraging to hear what everyone's working on. So glad to be a part of it.
I would say like my biggest takeaway for those who didn't get to hop into like the marketing storytelling kind of section is like just remembering that all of you are experts in your fields. And, you know, being able to convey that expertise and how you are solving problems for not only like your target, but in general, like the goal is to help out the St. Louis ecosystem, right? So being able to convey that in a way that's clear and concise and compelling, like that's going to be the key to doing really well in this competition throughout each of the different phases. So mull on that, mull on what traction you've had, mull on the impacts that you're making, or even if you're pre-launch, really honing in on your why and how it has economies of scale and how you're able to prove that you're the next big multi-million, billion-dollar venture. Like that's going to be a really big key to your success throughout this competition series.
Great conversations today, similar to what Brianna talked about. And I'll add that a few things I know there, especially for technology, thinking about there are lots of features that we like to talk about, but the judges and the customers even, they only have so much time to understand it in a short amount of time. So pick your top things that you're focusing on, your core business, if you will. Also, when you're talking about the application and the presentations and how you answer questions, when you talk about your proof of concept or traction, be sure to lay that out in a way that it's easy for people to understand your story. Then when you go to market, really think about what you choose to highlight as far as your growth. So how you're going to create demand and what has influenced that thought. My section was execution, so I'm like really deep in thought about that right now. But I love the work that you guys are doing, and the fact you just being here and having those deeper thoughts, I think is definitely going to be beneficial as you answer questions and do the application. So good luck to you.
Yeah, so I was really, really impressed. Honestly, in every conversation, there are things that people were doing that I myself am still figuring out how to do or haven't done yet. So always, try to keep that confidence in the core parts of your, one sentence that describes what you're trying to do. Really try to figure out what parts of that you can't change versus those that you can, and what you're most passionate about within that. So I think it's important for those of you that are between the line of a startup and a small business where you might have a significant amount of revenue already. How do you use that to your advantage? I think in your application, it's going to be really important to not just focus on an scalable investment opportunity, but as you were just saying, that job creation in the St. Louis ecosystem. How do you be an employer of 400 people in 5 years in St. Louis? That's just as attractive to Arch Grants as being a company that exits for $10 billion. In fact, it might be more important. So that's my biggest piece of advice I can give you.
My biggest piece of advice is just figuring out what St. Louis can do for you and what you can do for St. Louis. One of Arch Grant's biggest goals is to create and propel companies in St. Louis. So clothing lines, candle brands, consulting companies, STEM companies, just figuring out what you can do to feed our ecosystem, how you can grow your network here, and being prepared to be a successful company in St. Louis, which I think is one of the biggest goals for Arch Grants, to create successful companies in the St. Louis area that can propel the ecosystem forward.
Thanks, guys. So we've got a few minutes left before we're officially kicked out. If anybody has any final questions for the group, I'm sure everybody would be happy to answer them. Any questions? Yeah, go ahead.
So I believe it was you mentioned that you applied 4 times, was it?
Yeah.
How different was your pitch each time, and were you held accountable for your pitch being dramatic?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, so the question was, and I got asked this, I think, in every small group session, was you applied 4 times. What changed in the last one versus the others? What do I... And I don't know 100% for a fact, so this is my interpretation. But I think it had a lot to do with, rather than telling a story that was, if I get this, then I will be able to do X, it was really more of I am doing this, and I want you to participate and help me have doors opened in the St. Louis ecosystem that I'm already knocking on. I want you to get to be the one to open them for me, right? And that's exactly where Arch Grants wants to be, is they want to know that you're going to be running around St. Louis talking about how you're an Arch Grant founder and are building your business and hiring lots of people. They want nothing else than that. So I think trying to tell the story that you're already started a company that's going well, and they just need to participate in that, is what really changed.
So, I'm in a B2B service industry, and I as far as target demographic, I'm in video production, so technically any business in the world could be my target demographic, So what would your advice be on honing that in and being a little bit more specific about how you want to scale maybe right now? Just how do we hone, because I know I can't just put who's your target demographic? Anyone who wants video. That's not an acceptable answer. So what would your advice be on kind of honing that in for the judges?
So if I'm understanding the question correctly, it's you're a videographer now, and you're trying to do something scalable and find which customer should I try to build a better solution for.
Yeah, basically just how can I hone in
So,
on a more targeted demographic instead of just saying everyone?
yeah, I think that's where I'll let anyone else answer who wants to as well, but I would think it goes back to you're the expert on your market to some extent. And, if you've been a videographer for a while, think about who pays the most and never scoffs at it, right? Start there, for who's recurring, who's repeatable, which ones are the most consistent. Like there's probably wedding videography startups because you can plug into the knot. Or if there's not, there should be. You know, to me, those are what's repeatable in that market and what are the metrics or things that define that customer category that you could find information for how to find more of that type of person.
And if you already have traction, I would look at what are the characteristics of people who you've already done this work for, and second, look at there probably is some data on what's the biggest part of the videography market. I would imagine a restaurant probably spends more than a law firm, or a sports team spends more than insert kind of business. So probably a mixture of the two, just national data and honed into the traction you've already had.
But even so, so I'm a fragrance company that sells preparations for men, women, not non-gender conforming individuals, etc. But anyone can wear fragrance, right? But like I'm talking to people who want to leverage fragrance as their favorite accessory. So if you are a fragrance enthusiast or someone who wants to accessorize their mood, like I'm talking to you, even though anyone can wear perfume, cologne, whatever. So for you, I remember during our session, you were talking about how you market to B2B companies, but you are sitting at the crux of understanding that marketing and storytelling is important. So your audience are people who are leveraging storytelling to da-da-da-da-da. You know what I'm saying? So there's ways in which that you can take your unique positioning and flip it and how you're conveying who your audience is, you know? I think a lot of it, y'all, and this is just across the board, a lot of y'all know it. You know, a lot of y'all got it. A lot of you are able to tell really compelling stories about what your businesses are doing. A lot of it is like mitigating that self-doubt. You know, a lot of it is really just that easy. So remembering that also that you're the experts in your field, and really Arch Grants, you're just explaining that, and to your point is convincing them and getting a little FOMO here, like why you don't want to miss out. Like I'm going to be hot regardless. Like this thing's going to blow regardless. You're just getting in now early, right, on how, we're going to impact the world. So don't lose sight of that in any part of your application, because like you all have it. You being in the room proves that you all have it. It's just how you tell Arch Grants that you got it.
Yeah, if you're a videographer, the judges will trust you to know.
Yeah.
You know, like.
I would just add the last thing we were talking, okay, our product applies to every business in every industry. Well, if everyone's your customer, then no one's your real customer, right? So that's something to keep in mind. And, thinking about which customer segment to target, go where you've had success. If you did, a video for a restaurant, hit up every restaurant in that 5-mile radius. They're going to know each other. They're going to reach out to that reference and reach out to that restaurant and use you as a reference. And, that goes a long way in terms of credibility. And what you were talking about earlier with the FOMO, it's like that's a perfect way to go about it. Like, oh, this restaurant's got this great video. Why am I not doing this, right? So that's just something to think about.
And there's one more thing. There's one thing I thought about in terms of the application, especially toward the end when you're presenting in the finals. I can't imagine a time where if you didn't. I can't imagine a time where the judges will not ask you for your sales process. So part of the sales process is identifying your target audience. I had a slide that showed that. So that would be an important question to be able to answer, is to talk about who do you approach and how do you do it.
Got time for one more question if anybody has one?
The revenue slide, here's projected revenues. I don't like reading them and I don't like writing them. How do I frame that slide so that it's not complete bullshit?
Read the question.
I have two. Do I say the whole thing? No, I'm just kidding. So the question is, how do you create a expected revenue slide without BS, and how do you do it and give like accurate information? It depends. If you already have, so I talked about proof of concept versus traction. So it depends on the stage of your company. If you're in a proof of concept stage where you're really early and you're doing some testings, then it's almost always going to be made up. But from your proof of concept, you can make an educated guess. So it should be an informed, educated guess. But I've never seen one where they didn't put that we take over the world and it ends with you at all the customers in your market. So I would say if you're early, an educated guess. But if you already have traction, then there's a lot of ways to describe it. Some people call it a run rate. So you could say we've made. I think one example someone had where you could look at views. They didn't pay for marketing, but with 100,000 views, you made $50,000. So now, if I get 1 million views, you make $500,000. So that is a realistic, educated guess based on the experiences that you already had.
You had a question. Well, we can do it, but
To his point, whenever I do projections, I do 3 sets of projections. I do a realistic set of projections, I do a set of projections that is an overshot, and a set of projections that is an undershot. Okay?
That's what banks do too.
And so with those 3 sets of projections, I can get a real visual of my expectations, and then using the historical data from years before. Like you've been writing your publication for a few years now. You know what your subscribers look like. You know what your revenue looks like. You know with the Arch Grants grant what that can help you potentially grow to and how you plan on spending it. You know what I'm saying? So you know how that can feed into your potential growth. So I try to be as realistic as possible, but I kind of want to take over the world too a little bit. So I try to look at all 3 perspectives and pick something that's reasonable in between the 3.
I have not met my expected revenue numbers for my slide on my pitch day.
that's okay. Okay, why don't you go ahead and close it up with your last question?
Okay, this may be sort of a like you got it or you don't kind of a question. What does each of you feel like made you all alluring as a St. Louis brand to Arch Grants after having gone through all of the processes with them, after having communicated with them? What is it that you see in your brand, your company, your product that made you feel like, okay, I guess that's what it is that made them want to mess with me for St. Louis in particular?
Remember, can you summarize?
Yes. What made us a standout company for Arch Grants and as a St. Louis brand? So what made me a standout company is I'm one of one. You know, I haven't found anybody that's building the product like I'm building it in the way that I'm building it with the people that I'm building it with. I haven't found anyone who's more focused on the growth of small businesses as a larger business. And so that's what set me apart. I'm the only company in my industry as an African-American woman doing what I'm doing.
So, yeah. I'll just say ag tech. So we, know what St. Louis is good at, and if you don't, do some homework. Who are the big companies here? And if you had to go talk to one of the CEOs and it's your one shot to pitch them in the bathroom, what company is it? And think about that and how you could get that company to want to be involved with Arch Grants. That's to me what I felt like we sold was the idea that we're going to lead the nation in education as it relates to ag tech. So if you want to learn about ag tech, go to Mars Farm. And St. Louis wants to win at ag tech, so.
Mars Farm.
Yeah.
Mars Farm, that's right.
Yeah, agriculture technology.
There we go.
We say we're the best in startup ag tech capital of the world. See, we don't even know.
That's what I'm talking about. Shameless plugs, I love it. Now that you said that, that added to the thought. So one, I was a nurse here. I worked at St. Elizabeth's before it turned into South City Hospital. Went to SIU, went to SLU. So although I lived in California at the time, I understood St. Louis in an acute way because I saw the need in North and South City for as being one of the largest food deserts in the United States. So I really, my experiences here influenced me to even create the company that I experienced. And from once we built the company and began to think about, okay, markets, this is also one of from a headquarter perspective, the headquartered hospitals here own more hospitals than the headquartered hospitals in California. There's no, like here, there are more access to more hospitals in the United States than there are anywhere in California, as an example. So in our presentation, there's a slide, they asked, okay, what's your draw to St. Louis? Well, I could talk through Arts Grants, this actually happened for the most part, I could talk to 3 people and have access to hundreds of hospitals, whereas in California, I got to talk to hundreds of people to do the same thing. So it really made sense, and being able to understand it, I think those kind of were some big things that we are like, truly, this is a real thing that you can actualize here, and that's really what Arts Grant's goal is.
I think for me, it was a mixture of things. Like, I'm a St. Louis native, been here, went to Mizzou, studied journalism. But I think the biggest draw was my goal of the fact that I moved and went to New York, right, which is the news capital of the world, and worked out there and garnered all of this different life and world experience, and my commitment to bringing that back here, but also in inspiring and I hate saying that because who am I to inspire anybody, but in showing that, like, hey, bro, like, you don't have to leave here. Like, you don't necessarily have to leave here to get the same caliber of experience or to the same type of support or caliber of support. Like, all of that could be homegrown. And it starts with, like, us facilitating that here, you know, versus feeling like you need to go to the LAs and the New Yorks of the world. Like, St. Louis is nicknamed the gateway to the West for a reason. And so I think that my biggest appeal was, like, my passion and my determination to help facilitate those conversations here. But then also, you know, beauty is an under-tapped market here. It's very much so ag tech, whatever, but, like, no one is building, like, the St. Louis is the backyard for multi-billion-dollar beauty companies, not in St. Louis. So having at least one here, like, that's like, whoa, like, you know. So even if something doesn't exist here, that could be a draw too, for why St. Louis is the reason, like what you were saying.
Well, our story is maybe a little bit less compelling, not as easy to replicate maybe, but we have 3 co-founders in our company, and they all met at grad school at WashU, went out and started the company in Milwaukee, and then that's how they got connected to Arch Grant. So it was kind of like I wouldn't say coming home, but coming back to where you kind of got your business roots started. And it's been huge to come back here and leverage the universities here, especially WashU, but SLU and Harris Stowe have been instrumental as well in sending us young talent. A lot of times you can get some interns that are working on a stipend from the university, which I think some of us talked about here today. So ours is more university focused, less kind of organic as some of these other stories, but I think that probably happens to some other founders as well. Yeah, we're a caregiver support company, informal caregiver support, yes.
All right, well, I want to be respectful of everybody's time and also respectful of the space, the Kranzberg Arts Foundation that has donated the space to us, which very generously. So we'll go ahead and wrap up there, but appreciate all your time. Thank you, Paul. And thank you so much for joining. And if anybody has questions, you hopefully know how to reach me. If not, come and find me. I'll be around. Thank you all.